Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Swing Point Podcast. This is episode number 8. Guys, it's been a fun 7 episodes, and I'm really excited for this one. I'm joined by my co-host Ainsley. Ainsley, how you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
Doing good. I like the
I'm
energy.
good. Mason, and then ladies and gentlemen, we're also joined by Mason. Woo. Yeah, Mason, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm even better. I get a chance to be with you guys.
Heck yeah, thank you, man. Well, we're excited to have you on. So Mason, for the people that don't know who you are, kind of introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm a person that loves paintball. Playing here in the Northwest now since 2005. When I got introduced to paintball, it was at a birthday party a friend invited me to, and then from that point, I that same year was the same year that I got my real estate license and worked in real estate and played paintball at the same time, and I just never stopped. Just it was just so fun of a thing to do, and so since playing for over 20 years now, I've just got to see how paintball has grown and how it's evolved in the Northwest, and um, yeah. So what do I do? I play paintball. I've got a family uh, with my wife Dana, son Beckett, and 2 cats and a dog. So I got a full house, and
Okay.
loving every bit of it. So work, paintball, work, real estate, and then playing paintball every week, as you know, because you guys see me all the time.
Yeah. So you managed to build a really successful real estate career while staying involved in paintball. Was there ever that challenge of where you kind of had to put one over the other at some point, kind of going into like kind of like breaking the ice here, just kind of was there ever that time where you really had to yeah, was there ever that time that you really had to struggle or like
Oh,
decide, which one you want more?
100%. I think there's always trying to find a balance between the two. I think a lot of people have this struggle. We love this sport, paintball, and we would want to play it at all times. But then work also supplies the income and the funds to be able to play the sport. So uh, usually, if it had to come to it, work would take a priority. But once you learn how to, create some healthy boundaries, and I had to learn that over the years. But um, part of the reason I chose the career of real estate was so that I could actually play paintball. Because as you
Yeah.
know, you play competitively, you have to have enough time for practice for events and then going to events. And real estate provided that lifestyle where I could do that then. Um, because there's no job really that I've ever heard or found that would allow so much travel and time away from work. So real estate really provided that, and and that's what I stuck with. Although it's not always easy at the same time, you know. But I appreciate a lot of my clients too who understand that I have a love for the sport, and so they can understand that um, playing in a certain window of time. So it's worked out really well that DBS has created this Sunday fun day time where we can play early in the morning and I can still get my fix and practice in and have the rest of the day to do work if I need to.
Absolutely. Well, anyway, happy Father's Day to you, by the way. I guarantee I saw it was pretty fun actually seeing you at the field and all the other dads from the butchers kind of, hanging out after and everything. So
Thank you.
you said you got introduced around in 2005, and then what was kind of the origin story coming up? So what team did you start out with to where you are now? Excuse me.
Yeah, it's funny to think back how far it goes, but I think at that time, just playing recreationally in that 2005 time, really, I was just lucky at that time to have the flexibility and just drive everywhere and just have fun. I was playing at Operation Paintball in Graham. at that time, without having a family, it was easier to just say, "Hey, I'm gonna take an hour and a half drive one way to go play paintball," or going to Danger Zone that used to be at Joint Base Lewis McChord, and there used to be a field out in Tacoma that was an indoor soccer field that had a paintball field, and that was actually the first time I met Map Chim, and so I had this luxury of just traveling just to play with friends, the friends that still were um, from that birthday party or friends that I introduced into paintball, and we would just go play rec ball. And that evolved from just playing rec ball in the woods to then getting some of the friends that I found at these other places that play. One of the first tournaments was going to be when Danny Court introduced the 3-man Survivor Series, and so playing some 3-man, and that was super fun. Where I just played with Ira and Kyle. They no longer play at this point, but still friends with them, and and just getting that itch when you get that adrenaline rush from playing in tournament paintball, and then it's even better when you can actually podium or take first place. Then it really starts to get that bug of just continuously wanting to play. So then it started from, and I've had this luxury of being able to play with so many teams, so which has been really lucky. So starting off with that 3-man team was Gunslingers, uh, and then I spun off to create a DBS Titans team, and then that was then merged with DBS.com, DBSpaintball.com, and that was one of the first kind of breakthroughs because I knew at that time if I wanted to be really competitive, it was to be able to play with Danny and the Uprising guys who are now the Uprising guys, but before the DBS kids, and there was a they used to have these Monday night practices at the first indoor field in Everett,
The
but
Monday league night practices.
I don't know if they'd be considered league night because actually it was a closed practice. There's only it's just the kids practicing and the .com team, and it wasn't necessarily open to everybody. And this is when they were like really serious. They would have a it's almost like a mile run before practices, and you would have to ask the kids about how rigid the practice was because I came towards the end of it before that facility burned down. Is that the one that you're talking about, Ainsley? Where
I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, because this was also before your guys' time. There's been two indoor fields, and the very first one that DBS had, that one burned down, and then they had to open a second one. And the second one, I think, in based on Seth's episode in his interview, was talking about that indoor facility, which was a lot nicer. And but the first one that they had the one that burned down, that was the one that was the original DBS Kids practice facility, and and I knew that that was the one I was trying to break into. And when I finally um, got to break into that practice, then that's when things really started to get put together with merging teams together, um, and be able to play from that. That was again kind of the start of merging two teams, .com with I guess at that time DBS Titans to then create a we played one of our first events at WC in Division 4, and we took first in that one, and that was a really cool merger on that squad. And then from there it it really evolved into being able to play more with the DBS kids when they got invited to play for Vancouver Vendetta, and that was part of the CXBL league, and that was a true X ball league, and that was really one of the funnest events ever to be able to play 15 balls a second with penalty boxing.
Oh god,
Yeah,
I can't imagine 15 BPS.
I've heard a lot about CXBL. Like some of my really close homies up here played in that league when it was around, and just tell me all the
Yeah,
stories, and I see all the footage, and I'm just like, man, I wish I was playing at that time, or just was like more into the scene at that time.
yeah, it was amazing. And actually, we have mutual friends in that sense too, because when we were driving up to Canada to play, that's how we kind of merged there. There was kind of the U.S. and Canadian merge then to be able to play with this team, and it was amazing. Um, yeah, and I think getting with Vancouver Vendetta that led into playing at this really high level, traveling around Canada to be able to play for those, I think those 2 years. And I don't know when it stopped for myself, but I know that some of the other players like Dusty, Nate, and Alex, they continue to play. Brandon, um, but I stopped, and yeah, from Vancouver, from Vendetta, we had DBS Supersonics. I played with Northwest Dogs, DBS Kids, uh, Part Time Ninjas, a lot of local stuff that you've seen, and then now most recently is Butchers, Northwest Butchers.
Yeah, you played the last WC with them too, correct?
I did play the last WC with them. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
always a fun time.
it's
Yeah,
super cool. I love. Yeah, Dub C, great. Shout out Mike Kinman runs. We took Rain City took ninth down there when we were down there. So in D4, so it's always a great time to. It's always a great time out there. But kind of talk to me about that. What's been like the going of that with the butchers and everything? Talk about that camp a little bit.
yeah. Butchers Camp is awesome. Map is a legend in the paintball community, and but the whole crew, that core group of butchers, is awesome. I can't speak, enough highly about Evan, Will, Mikey, Danny being the core now. Like it's such a great group. All of those guys, if I left any names out, but they they are just they're cool to hang out with, and I think you guys brought up like we're probably one of the average age is we're the oldest of any of the premier teams.
Yeah.
Our ages are we're getting up there, but what's fun is that uh, because I've been able to see all these different teams and how they're structured and how and being with these teams how they've practiced. What I love about the Butchers is that Map creates this environment where it's uh, how do you describe it? But it's everybody respects each other, and maybe that just comes with age too. Um, but Map creates this community around him, and the barbecues that the butchers hold. That's I think it's a key feature of the team where it can bring people together when you can work hard on the field, and then you kind of have a feast at the end of it where you're breaking bread with the people you play with, and he even extends it out to the people that helps the team. So I think Dylan, you've been a part of these barbecues before too, and how he extends,
Yeah.
people we scrim with, and so it's always a good time with Map and the Butchers and Evan and all of them. And so even when it extends out to the events too, then we practice hard, we play hard, and um, so it's a fun group of guys to travel with. And I think that you guys have done traveling yourself now with WC and or just to any NXL events. You realize that you spend more time off the field than you do on the field actually playing the sport when you do that. So you're having to get to know people
Yeah.
uh, and be in intimate situations with your teammates.
Yeah, 100%. I think it just comes with just
100%.
a lot of teams just, they can practice, but it's also having that bond outside of just paintball. Like the team hangouts on like, like a random Friday night or something also goes like a long way. And like not all teams have that. And the Butchers definitely, I can see whether they do have that or not. I don't know if it extends outside of regular or just field time, but I feel like it does. Like, even with my guys, we try to at least get together once a month to meet up just outside of paintball, so it's just not all constant paintball and we can just bond over other things, whether it's getting on Discord, playing video games, you know, having a barbecue. It's just nice to bond over things that you're not just playing paintball with and have like an outside life with your teammates.
You bring up such a great point, Ainsley, because I've heard it from your other podcast too, and I gotta give a shout out to you guys. You guys are doing a great job, and what I've heard
Thank you.
from,
Appreciate that. Appreciate that.
yeah, from other interviews that you guys have had, asking that question of like, what is it, what makes what kind of advice would you give to up and coming teams, or how do you either create kind of that winning chemistry? And you brought, that's a great point. Doing things outside of paintball, or it's about having that chemistry where each one of you guys respect each other and you guys encourage each other to be better players, and that means on and off the field. And I remember my early days, I would ask some of my teammates to go out to the park and let's practice doing these cone drills with no paint, but just running, sprinting around cones and diving and knee slides. And because if the paintball field wasn't open, well, we just we try to practice anywhere that we could. And those were the times that like that you're kind of talking about. You're building, and you have running mates that are your teammates that are joining you on this effort for this the goal that you guys have. You have a common goal and you guys are trying to reach it, on and off the field. So having that kind of team chemistry is really important.
Yeah, I think some of my best memories are honestly not even like playing paintball with my teammates. It's like hanging out outside and like, having
Yeah.
the
Facts.
Airbnbs and stuff, staying over at your teammates' houses.
Yeah. I mean,
Nomads World Cup house.
yeah, those are going to be the most memorable times because you spend time in the end. It's the connections you have with your teammates, and then the stronger bond that you guys have, the stronger where you guys want to stick together and continue playing together because you're having fun. That's the one aspect that I really understood too earlier on, is that watching other teams, I've seen a lot of teams fall out because either they didn't have the right chemistry or they fell out from not winning anymore, and it didn't become fun. I will tell you that you guys have mentioned in the past, when you can win events and you see your improvements, then you it kind of equates to having fun, and you're going to continue playing. But if you can't see the improvements that you're having, or you're not podium them, then it's going to be harder and harder to be like, I'm going to stick through the next event, or I'm going to play another year. And what I what I always want for everybody is to stay in the sport as long as possible. As long as you enjoy it, then keep playing. And because
Yeah. 100%.
we share that passion for the sport, then I want to encourage whatever way it's possible for you to continue playing. And then it also becomes finding the right the right chemistry, the right team. And you know, I can see from just observing, Ainsley, from both of you, but you have Seattle Exile, and you guys have your own evolution as players, and there's a story behind each team and how you developed and where you are right now, and that's to also create a better environment or create a better chemistry. And that's what happens is I see where it's important to initially get into the sport, especially it's like this evolution from playing rec ball into airball. And then when you get into airball, it's like a whole different beast because now There really isn't just a walk-on situation anymore. You really have to be tied in with another with other players that um, because you're playing 5-on-5. So you need to get that other four players to be able to play with you. Then it's getting that link up of initially, can you get connected with a team at your level that you can bond with right away? And just to be able to play. And then maybe that team grows or whatever reason, or you have different aspirations, people have different commitment levels, then you branch out and you start to meet other people from other teams. You expand your friendship group into seeing, oh, this might be a better fit here for me. And then that's where things move around. Or in like your case, you might create your own team. And then you create your own team and then you start bringing in people that you think is going to fit within your your team structure. And that becomes the fun part, right? Because now you can kind of design and engineer your own team.
Yeah, definitely. Like running your own team comes with a lot of stress, but it's also fun at the same time. Like I always think of like you only need 5 guys to have a team. You need 5 guys to be on the field, 5 guys that want to play. I was like, I got 5 guys, I got a team, right? And then over it just comes over time. You branch out, grab some more people. Like recently, I've seen a couple free agents that have been out that are newer, and I'm like, well, if they're willing and they're coachable and they'll listen, I've added them into our camp, not necessarily on our tournament line, but to be in our camp, and all of us are taking the time to work with them and get them better, and they're willing to listen and learn. And I think that's also big is like you have these teams that want to be top notch, like top of the line, but it comes down, you have these newer players and you think we all started in this spot, and you always remember who gave you that first chance to step onto that airball field with the team. And that can like that just changes like a person's view, because like when I first saw speedball, I looked at it, I was like, holy shit, dude, this is scary. These people are like insane. And all it took was like one person to be like, hey, come run with my guys, we'll teach you and we'll show you the ropes, and it changes that perspective. And I feel like giving back is huge. I had a lot of people help me, so I look at it as I'm just gonna try and help as many people as possible, whether they stick with it or not. I'd rather give them that chance to try it out, and if they want to learn, they can learn.
That's awesome. I think that kind of sums up what um, the Northwest paintball community is like. Is is trying to
Yeah,
encourage more players,
100%.
encourage more players in um, and to have fun in the sport. And I think I saw that with you, Dylan, when you first started onto the scene too. When you were
Yeah, definitely.
and that what was awesome about you is that you weren't afraid to approach anybody on the paintball field and just ask questions.
Yeah.
And you had this enthusiasm for the sport that, yeah, this is we want to talk with you and help you out any way that we can, because you weren't afraid to ask questions, and then having people, get included, and you basically you found your kind of community, or people that you can, like you said, I think I've heard you say you found a mentor for yourself in the paintball world, and so you kind of
Yeah, my big mentors, yeah. I got it was during Cup last year. I'm sure you've heard of him, Anthony Bonilla, and who runs the dope paintball booth at Ninja Balls, and then Jordan Chandler. They kind of took me under their wing and kind of taught me a lot. And then recently, it's been Brent Ostrich too. Brent, one of my teammates on Rain City, who's been teaching me a lot as well. So it's basically been like a mix. And then Dusty Court as well. I've had a lot of mentors, but I'm also one of those people that you can get advice from everyone, right? You don't need to just stick to like what this has said is true. No, you can ask everybody for advice, then form your own idea about it, and then go through where everybody goes, right? That's the biggest thing that I love about this sport is that there's so many different ways to do things, and then you can kind of form your own opinion about it and kind of take your own way to do it.
There's so many
right?
different
So I
ways,
think
so many
that's
different
like been
play styles, like, there is no one way to play this game.
And that and that
yeah,
and that speaks to just like the whole community that you feel comfortable enough to approach different people to ask advice and just talk about the sport. That it's not where I can feel like sometimes it can be there's either a barrier or it's not necessarily so welcoming to approach other teams or other players. So, the fact that you can just ask questions and find different people to help in the sport because that helps with the longevity. And the more friends you make, then you're kind of you feel included. You found a home essentially. You don't feel like an outcast. That's the word.
yeah,
Not feeling like an outcast.
Yeah, 100%. So, like, you've been playing paintball for a long time, and obviously paintball's gone through, like, a lot of changes from when you started to now. Um, what era of paintball would you say is, like, the most nostalgic to you?
Uh,
that was a
that's a
little
great
brain.
yeah, that's a great question there. As I think back into nostalgic times, it would have to be where this first indoor where I got really introduced to competitive paintball because you put something indoors you can play without rain being an issue or the weather or the climate. We're used to it now playing at the DBS outdoor, so then it was very much a luxury to play indoor then. And I think that that particular time was is very nostalgic for me, just because it was really that grind at that point in I want to say if it was playing it with .com is 2011, um, about 2010 2011 time. Playing the indoor meant that I was playing 3 days a week. We had Monday night practices, and that was just doing drills. And then we had Thursday night paintball. So Thursday night, I think it started anywhere between like I can't remember completely. I just know that I left work from Northgate at 3 o'clock in the afternoon to try to get to downtown Everett at the indoor facility by about 4:30. I think it was like a 5 o'clock start time, 5 or 6 or something, and we can play into the evening. I want to say it was like 8 or 9, and at that point we had practice the Monday, Thursday night play, and that was just kind of what maybe street ball is like. It was just getting your teams together and then putting teams together to play at that point, just running points, and then it would be Sunday kind of play. So at that time, it was for me to play 3 days a week. That that's a lot. I think even now it's trying to get into that part where you can at least play Thursday and on the weekend. But I miss the those Monday night practices, and I was during that time when a lot younger at that point. So
Yeah. I don't know, something about playing paintball just during the week is just I don't know, it hits different than a weekend.
it does.
Yeah, like Thursday night drills over at DBS, Doodlebugs Paintball Park, one of the sponsors of our channel. Great time. Dusty runs them, and me and Ainsley are always there trying to sharpen our iron. And yeah, they've been great. I've learned now and kind of just like kind of talking how you were talking earlier, Mason, about growing, right? And growing as a player, and that's time behind the gun. And I mean, I think me and Ainsley were talking about it. It's like how different we are, even from just Cup from last year to where we are now. And me and Ainsley had like a good 30-minute conversation. We both just like, yeah, we're proud of each other, because we worked hard. It's always been us two always grinding at the field. And and then 'cause my goal is, obviously one day, right? I want to be pro. I know Ainsley wants to be pro, right? And I'm young enough to reach that goal. So, kind of talking about that, what were like the biggest kind of struggles you had to kind of overcome going into paintball and
Uh,
wanting to grow as a player?
it's a good question. I want to say that what I've learned over the years is there's like really three. important qualities to have to be able to play at a very high level, or just even play in general. It's to be competitive. It's you need time, you need money, and you need to be coachable. Those are the three things that needs to happen. You need to have a balance of all of that too. So the time is, if you work too much, you don't have time to play. And if you play too much and you don't work, then you don't have the funds to be able to play then. And then the important other aspect is that coachability. If if you cannot take um, feedback, criticism from another player, or just from a coach from a standpoint that has experience to be able to help you look from the outside on the sidelines to be able to improve your game, or just an internal coach from a team, that's not going to work either. So those three things is really important, um, for that success, to be able to play at a high level. And so at times like I said, it's a struggle to balance all of that, especially with the time and money, and how life evolves. Because I want to say, you guys both don't have a family, right? Not not married, and so
No.
things only get complicated when you get into a relationship, or even if you have a pet, dog or a cat, that's another responsibility that you have. So the more responsibilities you add, the harder it is to balance all of that in order to be able to play and be able to focus and concentrate to play at a high level then. And so absolutely, just when you so for my struggles, it was like, yeah, sometimes as having a family and having to provide and have responsibilities for others, then work becomes more of a priority than where I have other people that I need to take care of, not just myself. But paintball plays a big part, because as much as you two love it, how much I love it, anybody else, is that I still create boundaries and a block of my time so that I can continue to play it, because that's also for my self care. And I think that if I don't have that, then I cannot be a better person for the people that I care about myself. So it would be a disservice for me if I don't get to play paintball and have that outlet. And I think that that just plays a huge part in being able to make sure that I have the time to be able to practice, play paintball. And then and when I do get that chance, it really is focusing on playing paintball to improve and play at the highest level possible then for myself. And then in result, it comes together with the whole team. Um, I'm not sure if that answers your question, if you, but um,
Yeah, 100%, right? That's a great answer. And kind of going back to what you said earlier about all this, right? You need all those three things, right? And I think for me the biggest thing was is that, I'm in the military, right? So obviously my work is always going to come first. But I've been blessed lately to actually, be in the position where I can be at the field 3 to 4 times a week, and or 3 to 4 times just a week, Saturday, Sunday, Thursdays, and then hopefully, usually if I don't have my 24s on a Friday, usually around there, right? So, um, obviously I've been blessed to have that, and then I know Ainsley usually drills a lot right now too. So, I think I think that's just like the best part is that we've been able to financially support ourselves, and we don't have that the setback of having a family, right? For us right now, and I'm not even saying it's a setback necessarily, but we're not at that stage of our life yet. So kind of rolling off into, earlier you said talked about real estate, right? And I always see on your Facebook posts about how you always try to connect paintball and real estate. Has there ever been a time where any of those situations have ever overlapped at all, and it's helped you in one way or the other?
yeah, absolutely. They definitely cross paths in the sense that um, how I've treated to play paintball also relates to how I do business as well. And what that means for me is that I have a certain goal on the paintball team, which is I have a job or our goal together is to win. And when I work in real estate, my clients are also kind of like my teammates, and we have a goal. And so if we have a goal, a common goal, then we kind of laser focus on that goal and then try to reach it. And and that's especially when it comes to, I guess the best example would be um, the last few years when the real estate market has been really competitive, especially during the pandemic. Um, People who wanted to buy a house really had to compete for a house then. Um, and when you have to compete for a house, that's that competition that comes out just like in paintball. If um, When I think of some examples here where I've been fortunate enough to like help Tyler Mashad, Cam, who's been playing paintball, and some of these guys we've had to come into competition with the home purchasing situations, and if there's five other buyers trying to buy the same house, then those other five other buyers are is our competitors, and so I've got to help make it so that we have an advantage to win on the situation where my client, my buyer, gets the opportunity to be in first position, basically first place, to be able to have that option to be able to purchase that house. And that is that my goal for my client. And if I get into a situation where I can do that for my buyer and they actually win and get the house, then that's like taking first place in a tournament then. So that these kind of situations, and it comes with strategies. The way that I play paintball and with the team, of how we have to come with strategies of how to win even a single point, it's the same way we have to think about. I have to think about it in real estate too. Whether it's selling a home or buying a home, there has to be a strategy that comes along with it. And so yeah, it's how I play paintball is kind of how I do real estate, and how I do real estate is how I play paintball too.
Yeah, so like obviously paintball and your real estate both have some connections and like connecting with people. So both those fields like involve relationships and trust. How do you build like strong relationships with people in like your job aspect and then just in paintball?
It's it's uh it's really about connecting with people. Like, we're all humans, right? And the one fun thing about we usually have something in common with each other. And paintball is really easy. When we're at the field, we all know that we love paintball. And so then when we have something in common with a strong bond like that, it, it's really easy to just talk about what we love to do. And then it branches outside of that. We all have people that we care about and love, and we all have hobbies that maybe extend outside of paintball too. And what's fun is getting to know people, and especially after all these years of playing, 20 years of paintball, I've got to see people who continue to come out to the field and come out to play. I like to say like it's like an extension of family. I see you guys more than I see my own family, right? So even that once a week, by extension, you guys are like my family then. And then even though we may not have that deep conversation of what's going on, but from an outside perspective, I get to see whether your improvement in play, what you guys are doing in your lives. So then it's like keeping in touch of how your life is going. And that's the fun part, and really exciting part for me is to actually see your guys' life journey. And for a lot of people, and that I've gotten to know and play, even if I don't see them on the field anymore, when I get to see them on Facebook or they're posting something, well, it's really cool because now I've got to see their all these years of how things have changed in all of our lives. And so then it's fun to just build off of that. And we have something where we have a kind of like when the friendship started, or kind of knowing somebody, and then throughout all these times get to see all these different changes, and that's how I think it's been fun to build that trust even within paintball and then outside of life. I'm just curious about people, right? And I think I even when I first met you guys, it was about what are your goals, and then finding
Yeah.
out what you guys want to accomplish, and then if I have resources to connect you to be able to make that happen, then I'd always want to encourage that, and that's why it's fun within this whole paintball is to just be able to see um, all these changes and all these improvements in people's lives because of the sport or just getting to know them.
Yeah, even like Sunday, we had a whole conversation with nothing even really related about paintball. Just like finding ways to like connect
Yeah.
and like some like you offered some like really good insight of how to grow just on social media and just organize this whole kind of podcast thing a little better.
Yeah, I think that's the fun part of getting together with other people in different fields, right? We all come together for paintball, but knowing everybody has some kind of other expertise that they're bringing along into the world of paintball. It just so happens that we're getting together because of it, and but there's a life in other parts of it outside of it, and I'm intrigued on what that is too, because it all in the end it all comes together. Like you've been asking me questions, like real estate and paintball comes together for me. Well, what's that? What's that's what's mine is real estate, but what's that outside for you from outside of paintball? And whether it's Dylan for you, being in the military, being in the Navy, or Ainsley being a mechanic, an engineer on vehicles, like those are all really cool aspects that you guys get to bring into paintball into the rest of with the rest of your teammates too. And then so hearing about your goals of the aspiration is to be pro, like you're putting in your time and you're finding ways to this podcast is one of those things where you guys are creating something that has so much potential to be really big, and to see that this starting point just even on the eighth episode, I can't wait to see what it's going to be like on the 500th episode or the 1000th episode. Sky's the limit for you guys, and so I think that it's awesome to see, like, even 2 years from now for you guys to look back at what the podcast looks like and be like, you guys are putting together something that is really neat, and I think it's needed for a lot of people to hear about.
Yeah. Thank you. That means a lot, Mason. Thank you. So if you had to, obviously, you everybody has their mentors, and I've always asked this question kind of everybody, but what are some of the people who are some of the people that in the Northwest that deserve more recognition that you think that they don't get? And then also on like a added point to that, who's been like your mentor? Who kind of took you under their wing and kind of helped you grow as a player to even
Uh,
now, to where you are now?
yeah, great. The first person that comes to mind, especially earlier on, was Big Todd. Uh, so Big Todd um, still plays out of Operation Paintball in Graham. So he was one of the first ones to really take me under his wing and actually showed me some drills on a hyperball field. so Big Todd is one of them. Um, but some of the bigger influences, like in my paintball career and just in the community, and I think that for me are kind of like legends. Tyler Mashad is one of them. Uh, Danny and Dusty Court, for sure, they're going to be there. And someone who isn't necessarily around, but to me he's a legend. That's Jeff Guyman. So if you he's just like a wealth of paintball information. But Jeff Guyman's got such a strong memory. If you guys ever have a chance to get him on the podcast, he'll have some of the funniest stories, and he's one of the funnest people to be around in paintball. Um, so yeah, I have to give those four guys right there some of the biggest credit for for paintball for me. Um, but they all have their different ways where they come in to be that huge influence. I would say like Danny, Danny and Dusty and the whole Court family. I mean, obviously, without them, like this infrastructure for us to be able to play paintball in Snohomish on this whole the way that they operate, such a it's like a machine of it's so well run, it's organized, it's clean, you know, it's and and it's friendly. Like without them, that's a huge core. Like we wouldn't have necessarily a great facility to be playing at conveniently, right? Like and then you know, Big Todd, just the fact that he was just so welcoming, and he's still helping people to this day of just being able to play, and that's why you see all these jerseys with Big Todd's Army. I mean that speaks to his nature of giving and being so friendly with everybody. Um, Jeff has been, you know, and if you if you ask any of the uprising guys or DBS kids during that phase in time, how he's been able to be around for coaching, helping out, and and scouting teams, just overall great. Um, just a great mind in paintball, and I think you would have heard him comment on some of the times that there was Ninja Ball too. During that time, he would be doing some of the commentary there. Uh, yeah, I think those are some of the guys that I think deserve a lot of recognition in the paintball Northwest area.
Yeah, man. Todd still plays too.
Todd still plays. He still plays.
And I remember I was playing a tournament, and then I was all like, Brent was like, "Don't gunfight Todd." And I'm all like, "Wait, what?" He's like, "He's really good at it. Don't do it." And then what do? I go out, I try to gunfight him, and I catch one of the goggles. I'm like, "Yep, I'm never doing that again." And then we scrimmed like a month and a half ago with a couple boys, and we played BTA. And Todd's up there, and I'm just like, "Man, Todd, you're inspiring. I want to be like you when I'm older, Todd." And
Yeah.
the fact that he's been playing since you were a kid too is crazy, or since you were, a teenager, is honestly kind of insane. So
Well, that's nice to hear that you would even consider me younger at that time as a teenager. I started late in paintball, but Big Todd is definitely the inspiration. Like if I can continue to play like him, uh, that would be awesome. I look forward to that.
and then yeah, and obviously, you've been playing for what, 21 years now, probably, right? 21, 20 years, right?
Yeah, going to 21 years now in paintball.
Jeez, you started a year after I was born. I just want that to sink in real quick, Mason.
Well, then I'll add to as we're talking about old people topics here in age that I can at least proudly say then I'm the oldest that you guys have put on the podcast so far. So
Hey, let's go. Hey,
hey, that's something to beat. Let's see if
yeah,
someone's
yeah.
gonna get higher in age on your podcast here.
So for sure, right? Like let's see which one of the oldest butchers we can get on it on the podcast here.
Oh, that would be Map Chim. Then, if you want to get someone that's gonna beat me on the butcher, it's gonna be Map.
We have been asking Matt.
Dude, if we had
If
Map
y'all
on
see the
here, we'd have to censor
we have
everything,
been
dude.
censor everything, but it'd be such a great time. He'd probably have a white claw in hand while he's on the
It'd be
podcast
like
on
rated
the
R
barbecue.
after hours, dude.
Yeah. So Mason, right? Every longtime player has a few moments that almost changed everything for them in paintball. Could you think back to any of those moments and what they might be for you?
That's a great question. What would I answer for that? Any moments? I don't know if there's any one single moment in 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 my history so far that would have changed anything. I would say that because it's not any one moment, I would say it might have been people that would have changed it. Um, I want to say that it would probably be getting to know these people that I've mentioned already too, with Big Todd. Um, Without Big Todd, it probably wouldn't have triggered the momentum to be able to become a better player and want to compete. And then if it wasn't meeting um, certain people like Danny Court and Dusty, who would be welcoming for me to be able to join the DVS practice nights, and then those are a huge thing. Then it becomes like, okay, meeting other people like Mike Carey, the owner and coach for Vendetta, or Tyler, who's also kind of like another coach, or Jeff. Like all these people have kept me tied into the sport and have encouraged me to kind of continue on, and knowing that, well, I could look back and see, wow, all these people impacted just not my life but other people around me. Then it's almost like wanting to do the same for others as well. And so it kind of creates this um, contagious way of like trying to grow the sport and giving back too. But it's all these different people. When I bring up like, if, yeah, I don't know, that it's a great question, but I just start thinking about, it's the people that make it where.
People can, yeah, people can. Sorry, go ahead. My fault.
No, no, no.
People make or break everything, right? And I 100% think that, right? Like if I've seen and I've heard stories about, and even you can use like sports for a big example. Like there are bad teammates, right? And those are the things that don't want to make you right. Like if you have a good team and you're genuinely like with people that you like hanging around with and you enjoy being around with, right? Then 100%, right? That's what makes or breaks it right there,
Yeah.
right? And then I mean, I'm sure you've probably had the teammates that you don't prefer, but then then you also have the teammates who are like, these are my favorite guys, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like
Paintball
that's what the
is
Butchers
like
can.
paintball's so special, dude. Like I played so many sports growing up and I still play a lot of sports. Nothing compares to the people that I've met playing paintball. Like they're not my teammates. Like they are my family. Like
Yeah, one
they
hundred
may not
percent.
be like related by blood, but like most like I got a lot of guys that I know down there that I'd consider like my brother, like Hayden. I met him last year, but I feel like I'm a part of one of his family. Like I stay at his house when I come down for tournaments. His mom and dad treat me like I'm part of their family, and it's something that you don't find in a lot of other sports. Is like the people you find in paintball. They're just very unique and like welcome you with open arms.
For sure. Yeah, I think I got a lot of them. Jarrett. Yeah, they're all family, man. Jarrett, literally all the nomads, all the hooligans. There's so many people I could just consider family, right? And if I know if I needed anything from anybody, they would give it to me. They would help me in a heartbeat, right? But kind of going off and kind of wrapping this whole thing up almost before we kind of get out. Mason, in 20 years in the paintball community, in 20 years, what do you want people to know Mason Wu for?
I would want people to know that, hey, Mason was a person that was an ambassador of the sport. He wanted people to have fun. He wanted people to know the sport. He was helpful. He cared about what people's goals were, what they wanted to do, and he wanted to invest in the people to help them reach their goals. You know, the fact that I know that you guys want to reach the highest level of paintball, well, let's get there, right? You want to grow this podcast? Well, let's let's figure out how ways to get that make that happen. So I think I I would want people just to see that I was a good person and encouraging the sport of paintball.
You
Yeah.
know, Mason, that's awesome.
We have like two questions we usually kind of fire on this podcast. I'll run this first one and I'll let Dylan run the next one. But with paintball in the Pacific Northwest being so like special and unique, what does like PNW paintball like mean to you? And like how is that like just outside of like a different realm? Like if you go to like Cali, Texas, it's all different. But like what does like our community and our place of paintball mean to you?
Uh, I would say the one word would be inclusive, and what I mean by that is we've just been talking about people, and I think people what makes the sport. Um, and when we talk about some of these leaders or in our paintball community, I mean, that's what helps it makes it different from everybody else. I mean, I think one of the ways is like when you Ainsley, when you're reaching out to people on the free agency list, and 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 this is something I think we would relate to like nationwide. If your podcast goes out nationwide, anybody moving or playing paintball in the Washington area, the Northwest, they just got to make sure they become a member on the Facebook group for a Sunday Fun Day, right? For the DBS Sunday Fun Day, and they'll know everything really about what needs to be known about the Pacific Northwest of paintball. And because once they get plugged into that, they get plugged into people like us, then they'll know immediately where to play, how to get plugged into a team or whatever, right? That's I think that's what makes it different. That we want this sport to grow, and and we want people to feel right away included. Because I can remember, well, even when I first started, it was very difficult to break into teams that were already established. You know how intimidating that is when you just come from a rec ball field and you're looking at people who are, shooting NXL 10.5 a second where you're just playing with a Titman and and you want to break into this other level of paintball play, then if I think from that kind of a mindset, then it's like, hey, we want to encourage those next level players then to come up. And and the only way to do that is to make them feel comfortable enough and feel like they've got a home to play. And and I remember, if I was coming up to the paintball field, being unsure of how many people were going to be playing. Will I be able to get to the paintball field and there's other people to play with? Well, here, if you get immediately with friends or a network or a community of other players, then you get something to look forward to where you don't have to be concerned of, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to play. Well, you can plan ahead and know that, oh, I'm going to meet these other people that already said they're going to be there and they're committed, and I get to join in on the fun, and it won't be kind of an unknown or some I'm not sure. You can go in knowing that in full confidence that there's going to be other people to play with. Um, and I think that makes it very different here. And I think John Grable too, Conquer with Paint, he's traveled all throughout all the different communities of paintball because he's traveled with the military. And and he can also attest to that too, that it's very different here in the Northwest, where it's really inclusive of people. And I think that comes across because it's almost like with the more experienced or the leaders of the community being able to show, hey, let's embrace the new players and bring them in. That that in a way is also creating this culture around DBS or just in our Northwest to be like, hey, play paintball. It's fun. Join us.
100%. That's a phenomenal answer, by the way, Mason. Phenomenal answer. All right. So my question is, right, there's a lot of great players out in the Pacific Northwest for paintball. Give me your top. If you had to make you and four other players, you get one uprising player and one uprising player, or whoever you want, but you and four other players to make a starting five out of the Pacific Northwest paintball players, who would it be?
Oh man, I even right there, I would say the people I've kind of mentioned already. I mean, if I could get like, uh, I would play with Danny. I would get Mike Carey to play again. Get Tyler Michaud, like get Big Todd. You know, it's, it's just being able to play with any of my friends, any of the friends that I've made. That's that would be the starting five, right? It would be a starting five with a huge roster with depth. That includes you
Yeah.
guys too, right? So then,
Heck yeah. We'd be on.
yeah,
Well, Mason, thank you so much. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for your time on the show. It was a great episode. The film, I had a lot of fun shooting this one. So, any shout outs you want to do before we kind of wrap everything up?
uh, yeah. I mean, I want to shout out to DBS Paintball. The Court family, and obviously, I gotta give a plug for my business too. So if you guys ever need anything real estate related, contact me. I'll be a resource for you guys. Um, I gotta shout out to the butchers, Northwest Butchers. Blue Max. Who sponsors butchers. Uh, you got to go to their butcher shop. You get your meats. um,
Buckley, Washington. Phenomenal.
yeah, the best meats. So um, yeah, and I gotta thank you guys too, right, for putting this
Thank
on.
you.
Because you guys are the ones actually doing the work to spread, I guess, the good word about paintball, and the more hopefully it gets out, that the community of paintball gets bigger in the Northwest, and then for you guys to grow your podcast, grow your audience. Um, yeah, you know, thank you guys for putting this together. Keep up the good work on this.
Thank you so much, Mason. Have a great rest of your night, boss. We appreciate you.
Hey, thank you guys. Bye, Ainsley.
Thank you, of
Yeah.
course. Bye, Mason.